Who is Artem Tymofieiev, the mastermind behind Ukraine's drone strikes deep inside Russia? After Ukraine's massive drone strike on Russia shook the world, many are now asking how Kyiv, often seen as the underdog in its full-scale war with Moscow, managed to carry out one of the most daring attacks since the conflict began in 2022. A name now echoing through intelligence circles and Kremlin war rooms alike is Artem Tymofieiev. Once an unassuming entrepreneur living in Chelyabinsk, Russia, he is now at the center of a nationwide manhunt, suspected of orchestrating one of the most audacious military operations of the war, according to a report in Mail. Drones hidden in remote-controlled sheds. How Ukraine's Spider's Web damaged Russian warplanes. Nicknamed the mastermind behind Ukraine's Operation Spider's Web, Tymofieiev is believed to have helped Kyiv strike deep within Russian territory, targeting 4 strategic air bases across 3 time zones using swarms of kamikaze drones. The operation, unprecedented in scope, reportedly destroyed a significant portion of Russia's long-range bomber fleet aircraft that have haunted Ukrainian skies since the war began in 2022. Tymofieiv's quiet life with a hidden mission. Tymofieiv's story reads like a Cold War thriller. According to Russian authorities, he was born in Zhytomyr, Ukraine, and later lived in Kyiv. At some point in the last few years, he relocated to Chelyabinsk, more than 1,000 miles east of Moscow and just 85 miles from the Kazakh border. Officially, he ran a small business. Unofficially, he may have been Ukraine's man behind enemy lines, a sleeper agent embedded in plain sight, as per the Daily Mail report. Friends and neighbors, Russian sources claim, knew him as a quiet pro-Ukrainian figure but never suspected him of espionage. If they're right, Tymofieiev pulled off one of the most complex intelligence-sealed strikes in modern military history. 18-month planning, last-moment intel. Zelensky details OP Spider's Web against Russia. Operation Spider's Web. In what sounds like a screenplay plot, drones were smuggled into Russia, hidden in flatbed trucks disguised as mobile wooden cabins. These trucks, driven by unwitting Russian drivers hired by Tymofieiev, transported the drones to air bases in Ryazan, Ivanovo, Irkutsk, and even as far as Murmansk in the Arctic Circle. On June 1, coinciding with Russia's Military Transport Aviation Day, the trucks were parked near the base perimeters. Then, almost in unison, the truck roofs were remotely opened. The drones, controlled by Ukrainian pilots via Russia's own mobile network, soared toward their targets. Ukraine claims to have destroyed up to 41 aircraft, including rare Tu-95 and Tu-22 bombers and even a Berev A-50 early warning plane. Satellite imagery and drone footage released by Ukraine support the scale of destruction. Tymofieiev is now on every Russian watch list, with his name and photo circulated by Russian authorities. They claim he oversaw drone assembly in a rented Chelyabinsk warehouse, ironically located next to an FSB office. According to Russia's Interior Ministry, the lorries used in the attacks were registered under his name. Drivers testified that they were merely delivering wooden houses, unaware of the lethal cargo. However, Ukraine's security service, the SBU, asserts that Tymofieiev and his team are safely back in Ukraine. Kyiv, Moscow holds second round of peace talks but no ceasefire in sight. Delegates from Ukraine and Russia met for a second round of direct negotiations on Monday in a renewed bid to end the war triggered by Moscow's invasion in February 2022. Despite the diplomatic push, this time mediated by Turkish Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan, no ceasefire agreement was reached. The discussions involved an exchange of proposals from both sides on what a potential peace deal could look like. However, the positions remained sharply opposed, echoing the stalemate that has defined previous attempts. The push for diplomacy has gained renewed urgency, particularly amid pressure from international leaders, including former U.S. President Donald Trump. Shortly after the talks wrapped up, Russian state media published a document detailing Moscow's peace terms. The document underscored Russia's hardline stance, reiterating its demands to retain occupied territory and calling for Ukraine to relinquish even more land. Russia has already declared the annexation of 4 Ukrainian regions: Donetsk, Luhansk, Zaporizhzhia, and Kherson, despite lacking full military control over them. In its proposal, Moscow called on Ukraine to withdraw its troops from the remaining areas still under Ukrainian control as a precondition for peace. Crimea, which Russia annexed in 2014, also features prominently in Moscow's demands. The Kremlin insists on full international recognition of all territories it currently occupies, including Crimea. Ukraine, meanwhile, continues to reject the notion of giving up any of its internationally recognized land. President Volodymyr Zelensky has stated that Kyiv will not accept Russian control over its territories, though he has acknowledged that diplomacy might be the only way to eventually regain them, a hint at possible compromise under pressure. In addition to territorial concessions, Russia's peace memorandum also sets conditions related to Ukraine's foreign policy and governance. The Kremlin wants Ukraine permanently barred from joining NATO and insists on a future without President Zelensky at the helm. Swipe left for next video. At the onset of the war, Russian President Vladimir Putin openly called for Ukraine's military to overthrow Zelensky's government, signaling Moscow's intent to install a more Kremlin-aligned leadership. The document further outlines that, after a ceasefire, Ukraine would need to demobilize its forces and schedule new presidential elections. It also demands a ban on any foreign military presence or infrastructure within Ukrainian borders. Latest blogs.